Hey, it's Chris with Superfly, and today we're unboxing the Scout Zero. Okay, if you're anything like me, you've been daydreaming about having your hands on a Scout Zero. I can't tell you how many missions I've got in my mind where this is gonna be just the thing. Typical Scout form, amazing packaging, amazing presentation. That's our style here at Superfly, and we just love the personal touch. Okay, bags on bags. Briefcase, Dear Chris, personalized, unreal. I have this feeling right about now that they're not gonna get this back. There she is. Adam 80 on a pod harness, unreal. If I'm being honest, I kind of have this one mission around here that I'm really in love with. Turns out there's this big, amazing mountain by my house. And it turns out that it's hard to get to, especially on my timing. I have to work during the day. I'm oftentimes teaching, but I'm always looking at this mountain and I'm always daydreaming about being up like right on top of it, 13,000 feet at sunset. Local pilots have been there. I've done it on a hang glider. I've flown over it much higher from a different site, but just flying from my house over to that big mountain to watch the sunset, I think this is gonna be the trick. I think it's gonna make a lot of my dreams come true. Scout doormat, intake. All right, let's get into this. I see an amazing 3D printed base here, that it's pretty sleek. And the big talk of the town is exactly what's inside here. So let's have a quick look inside. First thing I'm seeing is a big back protector. I love that. That was one of my major concerns. I have a feeling that what you're gonna see here is some of the most amazing CNC machined inner workings and parts that have ever been used in our sport. It looks like titanium to me, but I'm not sure. That is like a nice and amazing part, and I just can't wait to see how that works. If we're being honest, we didn't dive in on the owner's manual and we didn't watch that many videos. We just pulled out the parts, and this is not a bad test because it was all intuitive. This was quite clearly the stand. This is an amazing 3D printed part to hold the motor and the pod harness all together so that we can address it and build it. There weren't any mystery parts. Obviously prop, intake, the usual Scout accoutrement. There's the cage, and then this is quite clearly the back of the harness when you don't have the motor on it. So apparently this can be flown without the motor. That's what you zip on in case of that. So this is one of the better looking cages that I've seen here, and we're just gonna give it a whirl. No doubt that if we watch the video, they'll give us a little bit better workflow on it, but here we go. These carbon fiber spars fit in these 3D parts pretty nicely. So is it a man thing or is it an American thing to not look at the instructions? For me, the instructions make a lot more sense once I've played with it a little bit. Like, for me, I'm a lot more interested to find out the good workflow once I've just familiarized myself with the parts. Can't wait to get this thing in the simulator, and I really do think simulator is gonna be a critical part of any familiarization with this one. That's one of our cornerstones when we teach people. We do crazy amounts of simulator work around here just to make sure that by the time you get in the air, there are no surprises. Now, no doubt that the way that this thing pushes the pilot and the way that it develops the power is gonna be all new. So I'm mentally ready for that. What an amazing part. I'm a huge fan of nice parts. And this is the glorious, amazing. Back to the pod harness factor, you know, I think it's probably really important to just imagine yourself running with this guy, opening up your steps a bit, and then imagine how the weight starts to develop. And then by the time you capture this guy, hopefully it goes as smooth as that, right? But that's from having some experience. You'll notice that it prefers the left leg, right? If you bring your right leg up, it all of a sudden makes this really short. We also know from experience that this material right here, yeah, you have to be a little bit careful. So you're gonna wanna not use like a crazy big hiking boot or Vibram sole. You're gonna wanna use some like precise kind of dainty, you'll find just the right shoes that'll enable you to kick into the pod right. And then you wanna avoid just stomping out to the side of the pod with your big heavy boot or in a like imprecise way, because we know from experience that you can damage these. There's lots of adjustment that has to be done with pods, but you know, the test is always, does it feel right? Is it pushing back on you nicely? And do the angles look right? And I think my angles look great. When it comes time to land, I like to bring one knee out like this, just as insurance that it's gonna happen. Then I get the other one out like that, and I can still keep the pod kind of on my feet. And so I'm waiting, and then when it's time to land, then I just scoot out, and it's easy, and it's a foregone conclusion. If you go like this, and then that, then sometimes you get a little hung up. And so, like I said, I just like to get the knee going, just my trick. And then that way, as I come in, I know my feet are gonna come out. For sure, when you stand up, here, I don't know if you heard that sound, but the motor just moved and has more upright angle. So that's so that it presents the prop at just the right angle as you're running. And then as I go back into it, remembering to use my left foot, right about here, you ready? Okay, it probably already did it, but it moves again. And it's to adapt the prop to just the right angle for when you're in the pod mode. Probably good to do a few more cycles. That's one thing for sure about a rig like this. You don't want to just go and send it. You want to know some things, and if you're not a pod person, you have a little journey to go on to become a pod person, to be dialed. And a simulator is going to be essential. Sweet, let's send it. As luck would have it, we're on the north side here. It's not really soarable. Nobody is benched up. It's kind of screaming motor assist right now. The crux here is obviously the neighbors, right? We have to be discreet enough, use the engine little enough that nobody gets wound up about it. So I'm gonna go out there and soar, and if I need to, I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna use it for just the few moments I need to get up and get established. If I don't need it, then I won't start it, and I'll use it available gas for some transitions that we'll do over towards that big mountain over there. Let's do it. Scout Zero making it happen. Like I said, there was nobody up. It wasn't soarable. The two guys that I was with were sinking out in crosswind, dangerous, forcing it next to the hill. And I just reached back. I hadn't warmed up the motor at all. I just primed it, and then I just hit it, and it fired. And I just went to the sweetest spot I could find where I could also just get up to this big hill and also be quiet and discreet and do it quickly, and it kind of worked. Like, I was not burning gas for very long at all. And now I'm down here where you wouldn't want to go low. It's too cross, it's not working. And it's like a little turbulent. The wind's kind of pushing me off the hill, and by most accounts right about here I would head back, you know, because it's just bad. But yeah, you guessed it, I'm about to pull the pull start and just make this happen. And I'm nicely away from the flight park right now, so it should be chill. Yeah. All right, here we go. Just a little gas, just to make it work. Like I said, I'm 50. I got nothing to prove. I've flown cross country. I've done acro. I can still do both. I just like to have a nice evening. This is my ticket right here. Now I'm over to this exposure where the wind is like actually blowing in. I'm not on the crosswind anymore. Yeah, so I just killed it again. Now I'm just gonna see how far I can go without the motor. Gliding places that I wouldn't normally glide to. But all in the interest of just keeping the noise down, being discreet, and I don't know, new experiences, right? It's just new, and it doesn't take much for me to just be entertained. This is great. Scout Zero. There's no way they're getting this thing back. No way. I will say this about the power. Fairly obviously, when I gas it, my feet go up and I tilt back. And then when I let off, everything gets a lot more normal. So if there's one thing to get used to, it's that. It does speak for the idea that maybe you just go with a little gas, right? Like I'm just barely gassing it right now, and that's sustaining me. So maybe I don't go full throttle that often, maybe just a little. Oh, and there's the end of the gas. All right, how sweet is that? I guess I won't be needing this anymore. Now the question is, will I make it back? It is a climb assist, it is limited fuel. Oh, and there it is, there's my thermal. Could have been the sucker part of it right there, so I'm going to continue. But yeah, people are starting to climb at the normal takeoff spot here, so and as you can see, I've got it basically on glide, so life's good. I feel like a paraglider now. How quickly things change. Well, apologies to my local friends. We make a deal we're not going to burn gas here, and look, for being honest, we just did it because we have a video guy here. He's helping us out, and so we're claiming our wild card last night and tonight. Did it both nights. Tried to be as discreet as possible. Not a bad protocol. Just burn as little gas as you can around your favorite takeoff spots, so that they can always be your favorite takeoff spots. This harness flies nice. Flies as good as any pod harness. Here's the punchy part of the thermal again. And it feels good, and I get weight shift here. I get good weight shift. And I can seek the thermals, and the glider still speaks to me through the harness, and that's not something that happens with a paramotor. You lose that big time. I don't love trashy thermals with the normal paramotor. But I love that I'm not having any problems flying through the garbage air with this. And it is kind of garbage tonight. That's why there's not that many people flying. And when you need to crank it around, and I won't do that just yet, when you need to crank it around, this thing's good for that. Trusting that Miro made it good and strong, like any Scout. You notice the prop spins faster when you do that, which is fun. That was fun. Kind of worked just as designed. Like I only used it for what I really needed. Tried to be as discreet as I could, and it worked. Ran out of gas, which is kind of the idea. Just use up all the gas and then be a paraglider. Made it back with plenty of altitude. So Scout Zero checking all the boxes. Second flight, more comfortable with how much you lean back when you gas it. Starting to get used to it. Didn't have to grab the risers as much to make myself comfortable. Talked to Miro, he said, you're not gonna flip over backwards, it's fine. Get used to it, tough it out. And I can do that. I think the average paramotor pilot is going to be on a bit of a journey to getting used to being relaxed. I think the average paraglider pilot have a much easier time. We're just used to being reclined. Gotta love it. Cheers to Scout and Company, Canyon, Team Fly Halo, US Handlers. You're not getting this thing back.